I just wanted to say thank you very much for everybody joining the program today. The weekly webinar series continues to grow. I'm excited today because I have complimented you two, especially on Claire. The presentation that we did prior to this was amazing, and you're in such good hands. You are so knowledgeable about the product. Obviously, I mean, Brett, you're synonymous with the product, and so anybody on this call with any kind of questions, or you have the right guys to talk to, and I feel it's going to be a very productive hour. I love the product. I love the GUI. I love the detail in the cameras, everything about it. So you got a lot of support team with Snap One here, guys. So let's continue the conversation and grow this. And I really kind of want to gauge where our audience is at as well, Brett and Jerry, you know, kind of see where everybody stands, whether this is a support kind of focused hour or if it's introductory. Let's see. But thank you so much. I'm recording the show today. Everybody who registered is going to get an email from me on Friday morning. So we're going to recap this. Jerry and Brett, get me this slide deck over the next couple hours or today as we're working with this, and I'll make sure everybody gets it in their inbox. Links, obviously, to the product and a whole full follow-up will be in your inbox on Friday morning for you guys to pass to your team and continue this conversation. So that's a good thing. Jerry's going to be my man on statistics in the background, answering questions.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, let's do start typing away. Let's make the best of this hour. I want to do a hard stop at the top of the hour. I'm going to go down to one of my locations because I've got a huge Lutron day happening at not all of the locations, but many of them, right? We started yesterday. So there's actually some live events going on at the Snap One locals yesterday, today, and tomorrow. What that is, just want to give you a little plug out there. It's Lutron. Raw 3 is out, and I'm having all of the Lutron reps in the various regions that are actually live in our locations doing a presentation. We're doing some giveaways. There's some definitely hot pricing out there. So if anybody's doing Lutron, check the schedule, check the event schedule, and we'll see you down at the stores either today or tomorrow. So that's my little plug. Other than we will be back next Wednesday when I've got my best friends from Sonos coming on the program. We're diving deep into some networking and obviously Sonos. There is stock on that. So I think it's a timely discussion what we have there. Okay, so Jerry and Brett, what's going on, guys? Great to have you back. Are you guys ready to go? Let's get this rocking and rolling.
I think we are. You ready, Jerry?
Oh yeah, you know he is. I mean, he's already typing away.
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay,
without further ado, take it away, guys.
We're in, as always, we're in 2 different states. I'm in Sarasota, Florida, and Jerry's in Texas somewhere. So we'll try to conduct this as best as possible. So we're going to go through a presentation. If you've seen this before, you're going to recognize the first 30 to 50% of the presentation. So this is also geared towards people who have not seen the presentation and an introduction to the ClearVision product line. But in the back half of the presentation, you'll see a sundry of new product launches that are going live in the Snap stores as early as late next week. So we're excited to get those out. And then we're going to give you, which we rarely do, a glimpse into the future of the ClearVision application. So we've been working pretty hard on that. So we'll take you through this sort of step by step. If I can get my PowerPoint to behave. Come on, Brett. There we go. Introduction, we'll go through setup, performance, a little bit of what's new. What part of what is new is the 8 megapixel motorized varifocal cameras. Those are in the store today. Color at night cameras, which there is a high demand for. And talking to the industry pundits, upwards of 30% of all higher end cameras that are going out the door today are going out with color at night features. And we'll explain what those features are and what the application usage is and why it matters in the presentation. We'll then take you through the ClearVision, next generation ClearVision app that we're working on. We're pretty excited about it. We are in fact launching overseas support, and we'll show you where and when as we get there, and then a recap at the end. So this is the ClearVision product line. We really target this at sort of a high performance budget category. This product line's up to almost 60 SKUs now, so it's pretty broad, covering varifocal cameras of 4 megapixel, 8 megapixel, color at night. various fixed lens and various formats. There are 3 NVRs, so it's a pretty broad product line. We do break it up now into 3 categories. We used to break it up into 2. We have our value series, which are cost-effective products that don't do smart events. They're super value. They start at dealer costs of about $69, go to $89. They come embedded with an SD card. You can stick them in standalone, add them to a job in quite literally minutes. A pretty effective motion detection, pretty decent low light detection. When you step into the performance series, you get into Sony Starvis image sensors, otherwise known as Starlight. 4 and 8 megapixel cameras in varifocal and in fixed lens. 4 megapixel comes with an embedded SD card in the fixed lens version, and you get smart events for human body detection, line crossing, intrusion, people gathering, and loitering. Our 2 highest moving SKUs by far are the right up here, the 8 and 4 megapixel turret camera. They are extremely popular. So we then said, let's take that same exact form factor and let's move it into color at night. And we'll show you what the image quality of both the standard cameras with Starvis sensors in them, and then what happens when you start to open up the f-stop and you start to you add things like white light and so on and so forth, and what are the value propositions around that. So that's our V300 series, and you'll see us continue to add to the V300 series over time. So the product line is getting quite complete. So what do we try to differentiate on? We target a I would say a not a traditional user interface. Our target is that consumer, easy to use, easy to understand, pick it up quickly kind of interface. So we try to make it very simple for the end user. We have complete driver support, full driver support for the NVRs and the cameras in Control 4, which includes snapshots, full video events, both motion and smart. You can trigger events and push notifications with snapshots inside of your Control 4 application right from the cameras. And they're all certified, obviously. These cameras are, and the NVRs are all, it'll be somewhere else in this presentation, they're all NDAA compliant, and that is a fundamental tenet of the product line. We do have a number of dealers that work a lot with new home builders, so NVRs are a little over the top for that particular market segment. So we have a standalone installation model, and the 4 megapixel performance series is a great example of that. It comes with a 32 gig card pre-installed, but you can take it up to 512. We offer 128 gigabyte cards in the store. The 512s get a little costly. So in any event, you can stick this thing in and you can record smart events, and you can give somebody a camera at their front door facing, or their garage facing the front, and one facing the pool, call it a day, and not deal with the complexities of an NVR. There are no fees for the security contractors out there who see that as a negative. My reaction is always the same, because I don't charge you doesn't mean you can't charge them. So we have elected to keep our fee structure on a monthly basis extremely simple. We charge a couple different, our rate structure for our monitoring services for our ClareOne panel is 4 lines long, and there are no additional fees beyond those 4 lines, and no fees for video. So there's a couple ways that this product can work or does work. You have the ClareVision application, communicates with the NVR, and our ClareOne panel communicates with the NVR, as does Control 4. They all can control or talk directly to the cameras individually as well. The NVR is a ONVIF compliant NVR. It's an ONVIF client, so it will communicate with the Luma cameras. And we have many dealers, and I can tell from the tech support calls, we have many dealers installing Luma cameras plus ClareVision cameras. Maybe they're putting a Luma PTZ in with ClareVision cameras, or they had Luma pre-spec'd, et cetera, et cetera. So we have, that goes on every single day in the deployment side. So we can talk to the ClareVision standalone, we can talk to ClareOne, we can talk to Control 4, or all 3. So that's about it. When you look at the features for the Edge, You know, we've got advanced motion detection analytics. We are continuing to add to analytics. We are working on car detection. Today we have human detection for intrusion, line cross, loitering, etc. I don't know that loitering for cars makes any sense, but certainly intrusion and line cross does. So you can look for automobile detection in the future. And the updates to the cameras are free. So when those features become available, they go into the OTAs. So we have a couple of OTA servers and they will be available to your users and to you to add to the project over time if you would should elect to do that. We do integrate camera events into the security panel, both smart events and motion events. So we can receive an event from the camera. There's a person loitering or in an intrusion zone or across the line on my driveway. I want that to notify me. You can do that through Control4. You can do that through Clare controls. So we try to keep parity between Control4 and our Clare One panel in terms of the integration features. So we pay close attention to the drivers and try to keep them as close to parity as possible. All the cameras communicate back to the mobile application over a common P2P platform, which is a common usage or a common method for cameras to communicate to mobile applications. And another day and another time, I can do a tech talk on P2P because it's kind of interesting, but not today. We believe we've got the best cost performance product available today. The very first thing that people say to us when they see the camera and they turn it on the first time is, "Oh my God, that's an amazing image." It happens all the time. So we'd encourage you to try a camera, turn it on, put it next to whatever camera you're using and say it's IC real time and ask yourself if the cost of performance is an improvement. And I think you'll say it is. And as I mentioned earlier, it's all NDAA compliant. So setup standalone in our world is quite simple. We have let's go through this through the screen by screen shot. But in the mobile app, you get snapshots, live stream, events, history, and you get a limited amount of setup and configuration. We do kind of debate internally about how much setup and configuration we want to sort of seed to the user. I've been an integrator for 15 years in my prior life, and I know what it means to hand, tools to a customer when they don't know how to use them, and that usually translates to a service call. So we're in a debate constantly. We're always talking to dealers about what features do we really want to let the user have in terms of configuration and setup. We do treat this and believe these to be pro install products. We're not trying to be Nest. We're not trying to be Ring. We're trying to be the best pro install product that we can be that produces the least truck rolls and the most value to you as a dealer. The other way these obviously can be set up is through the NVR. The NVR auto discovers any of the Clare cameras. The NVR can also be used to connect to any on-VIF camera, such as a Luma camera. We do not connect directly to Luma cameras standalone. Luma cameras or on-VIF cameras in general would be communicated to from our application through the NVR. I'm going to skip this. Camera setup is, I would say, traditional. It is a easy to use web interface. It's Chrome or Edge based, and you can go through and set up multiple users. You can set up recording schedules, event arming schedules, a lot of very traditional feature sets built within this. The regions of interest are available, privacy zones are available, and so on. So there's a fairly traditional setup, and it's relatively quick and easy to learn. Of course, there's playback available in the NVR as well. The intelligent detection features are based on a few different approaches. One is sort of the human body detection, and you can, through human body detection, you can pick up regional regions, and you can have a loiter setting within the region. So the person has to be within that region for 1 second, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, before it's interesting, and then it will generate a smart event based on your pre-record and post-record, and it will send the message onward to the NVR, the application, Claire1, Control 4, whatever is integrated into the system. Line crossing, it's a traditional feature, smart event feature. Loiter is slightly different. Loiter is you have people gathering within an area for a period of time that goes beyond typically the intrusion detection. And then you have people gather, which is a density measure that says there are too many people around my pool. There are too many people in a retail setting. And it's typically used in retail and commercial applications. NVR setup. Again, it's pretty straightforward. If you plug a camera into the PoE port of the NVR, it will auto-discover the camera, load it to the NVR. It will automatically set motion detection to on. It will automatically set it to record 724. Those are the default factory settings. You can change any one of those things. And you can, when the passwords for all the cameras, when you log into an NVR, it's going to ask you to change the password to something more secure. Those are GDPR requirements. Once you change that password, it will change the password to every attached camera that is a Claire camera to that password, so that when you use a virtual host to tunnel into the camera to get to the camera UI, you use the exact same password. So again, we're trying to focus on ease of use. We do have internally a Teams chat room where any one of our guys post questions, post interesting questions that have come in from dealers. They post requests that have come in from dealers, and many of the additions that we've made since June of last year through the January release. Almost all of them came from dealers. Certainly the defects or bugs that we find, we fix, but a lot of things like, hey, you guys need to add this, you need to add that. That stuff goes hot-wired directly from that chat session to our internal tracking system. It's called Jira. And the product manager watches Jira daily and works with the camera company. Our partner in this product is extremely responsive. So for those that have touched the camera, say in June, and use it today, I can assure you they will attest it's a massively different product. And a lot of that came from you as dealers, and we listen to dealers acutely. So as I mentioned, it automatically scans for cameras. You go through all the settings that are available within the camera are available in the NVR user interface as well. The OSD settings, image settings, video settings, privacy masks, all of those things are available inside of the NVR, as well as the recording schedule. One of the differences between recording in the camera on the SD card and the recording on the NVR is the SD card can only record one event type. It can record full-time record or motion or smart events, not and. If you need to record or want to record full-time record and a event type recording like motion or smart events, then we would suggest you use an NVR. We have had dealers go out and install 5, 6, 7 cameras without an NVR. We really don't recommend that. If you get 3 or more cameras, you really should be looking to an NVR. Our NVRs are very cost effective. The dealer cost is in the low 200s for a 4-channel NVR with the 1 terabyte drive included. The 8-channel NVR is in the low 300s with a 2 terabyte drive included. We do have a small cloud-based storage. We're just getting started with this. This is really for snapshots, so please don't confuse this with event storage or with full-time storage. This is if you've got an interesting snapshot and you want it put to Google Cloud, then you can do that. We may expand that over time. I won't go through all of these. These are very traditional motion settings, arming schedules, all of it's available within the NVR. So in summary, there's 3 recording methods. One is a micro SD card. It can be stored locally at the camera. Up to 512 gigabytes. You can store or normal or motion or smart events. You can't do all three. You can do this in conjunction with the NVR, and we have a lot of dealers that do this. They'll set up an event storage, excuse me, within the camera that will mimic the storage that is being done within the NVR, but in addition, in the NVR, they'll store full time. Why do they do that? If the NVR were to take a dump, all the events that were in the NVR are also on the SD card in the camera. Or conversely, if the NVR were to be stolen in a break and enter, the events that led up to that break and enter would be stored on the SD card on the camera. And most folks don't think that they would be in both places. And then we've got this simple, very simple snapshot storage within the cloud-based feature. So I'll just walk you through a camera setup to show you how quite trivial this is. You hit add a camera, tap the camera, you tell it whether it's on the network or not. And I'll show you why in a moment, because you can add a camera in a customer's network or a remote network quite trivially by having the QR code emailed to you. You would just scan that QR code and tap on remote network. And then scan that QR code, enter the password, and you're connected instantaneously. So you can connect to cameras locally or remotely. If it's on the network, it's going to scan the network and look for cameras that are Claire cameras, and it's going to find them and give you a list of them that are available. You tap the camera that's available, enter the password, name the camera, and you're done adding that camera. If you're on a remote network, you select the camera, you tell it it's on the remote network, have the customer send you a QR code by text or email. You scan it, enter the password, and you just added a remote camera, and you added a camera that's halfway across the country. That's how it works. It's quite simple. NVRs are done the same way. Once you add an NVR, you then just enable the channel. So it's more or less the same thing. There's a change password feature within the application as well. So what you've done when you do that is you've added that camera on the right to the mobile application, and that is all you've done. And you're doing that over what is called a Claire P2P cloud. It's a peer-to-peer cloud. The way peer-to-peer, and keep moving fast here, the way peer-to-peer works is there's our server sitting in the cloud. All of our servers are US, I should say North American based. Our push servers, our OTA servers, and our P2P servers are all North American based. They do not go outside the country. We were very careful about that. So what our cloud servers do is essentially broker a connection between the camera and the mobile application. Once that connection is made, the peer-to-peer cloud backs away and the two devices are talking to one another directly. That's done to conserve bandwidth in our servers. That's done to increase speed of communication between the camera and the mobile application. When you use ClareVision with Claire Home, you can access live video on all the cameras. You can use what's called deep linking to get between the two apps. We'll show you that an example of that in a moment, to create that single app experience. And then you can create automation events. If I see a motion detection event on my front porch, turn on a light, things of that nature. You can create those automation rules within Claire Home based on a ClareVision event. So when you look at the features that are in the applications, you can view snapshots, live video, process events, view the history, set up cameras and NVRs in the mobile app. In the panel, you can view snapshots, live video, process events, create rules, custom actions, and access audio and intercom, whether it's a doorbell or a camera with a speaker and a microphone. It's just a technical detail, but it's somewhat important to understand what's really happening. When you talk to a ClareVision application, you are using the P2P cloud always. When you're communicating through to the panel so it can create rules and events and things like that, we do not rely on the connection out to the internet. We don't connect the panel to the P2P cloud and rely on the internet. That connection is made directly on the home network to the Claire panel using OnVIF. So we receive those events in real time and local area network speed so that we can actuate some kind of a notification to the user, or we can actuate an event within the home, whether it be lights or sound or otherwise. That connection is made locally and is not dependent on the internet in any way. When you go out to the Clare Home application, then the Clare Home is attaching to this particular device. So we're going to show you what deep linking means. When you use an application like Facebook and Messenger, if you notice when you have messages, it shows you their messages are on Facebook. If you tap on that, the screen slides to the left and you're in what you think is a different screen of Facebook. You're not. You're in a completely separate application called Messenger. And that methodology or that technology is called deep linking. It's available on both Android and iOS, and this is the way it works. So you can have these things standalone with ClareVision cameras, or you can have it integrated with Clare Home. When you integrate with Clare Home, the tiles that you see here will automatically show up in Clare Home. If you want to see the full image, or you want to see the event history, or you want to control the settings of that camera, you simply tap that event and it takes you directly to that camera. The screen will slide to the left. It takes you directly to that camera within Clare Home. And when you tap the back arrow at the top, it will take you back here. So that's how the two applications integrate, and it works quite nicely. So you have all, excuse me, all the features of the ClareVision application. And when you're done, you hit the back arrow and you're back in Clare Home. There is an OTA service. This is going to get a little prolific, I would suppose. Today, you can update cameras through, there's a toast that comes up in the live view that says, okay, Mr. Customer, you've got a camera firmware available. That's when the cameras are standalone on the network. And they just tap it and they get the new camera update. There's also an ability within the web user interface to download the firmware from our help center and upload it to the camera. There's also an OTA service in the web interface of the camera where you can click check updates that you would do this as a dealer, not the homeowner. Check for updates. It'll say, yes, there's an update. You accept it. It updates. And we'll talk about Oversee in a minute. Control 4. There's a certified driver for Control 4. You can view notifications, snapshots. You can email notifications with snapshots and images. You can get live view. It's pretty robust. You can get both motion events and smart events, and the smart events are tagged with metadata that lets you know whether it was human body, line cross intrusion, loitering, or people gather. So I'd like to take you, we got a hard stop in 31 minutes. I'm going to make it. We got camera performance. As I said earlier, when people open up these cameras, the very first thing they say is, that's a great image quality. So what we're going to do is show you what that really means. We did take a couple of consumer branded cameras that I'm quite certain you compete with from time to time. I'm just going to get a Nest. I'm just going to get a Ring. I'm here to tell you the image quality of those cameras are absolutely positively horrible. We have these images available. I believe they're on the website. If not, my Richard in marketing will throw them there. We've emailed these out to guys for marketing purposes before, but this is a this is just a shot of a area behind our building. This is a Ring 2 megapixel camera, and these are shot from exactly precisely the same location. That's a $199 Ring outdoor camera. That's a $69 2 megapixel varifocal camera from Clare. This is a Nest camera. They couldn't have the colors more screwed up if they want to, but nonetheless, it's Googled, so they're perfect. And then this is, say, our 4 megapixel camera. You can see the resolution is slightly better, but this actually does represent the color of what's back there. We do not have a yellow backyard. So then you go to a competitor's 2 megapixel. So this would be one of the NDAA banned products. It doesn't matter which one. And you can see that camera versus ours in exactly the same setting. There's their 8 megapixel versus ours. So the differences between the two sets are immediately obvious. Then we go to night vision, and this is when your residential cameras, or I'm sorry, consumer cameras begin to fall right off the table, because this is a Ring 2 megapixel camera in exactly the same location as the 2 megapixel camera that we have for almost 1/3 the price. This is the Nest. Here's a competitor's camera, one of the band cameras, versus ours, and the 8 megapixel versus ours. Again, at night, I mean, you can see the clarity in the background. Clarity in the background. Look at the background here. Look at the background here. It's virtually undetectable. So then we take it and look at a little bit different. And these are the performance 8 megapixels, performance 4 in our value 1. This is a Nest camera. This is an indoor typical camera. These charts up here at the top are typical camera calibration charts. They test the camera's ability to resolve color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is what happens. You know, we stay in color with our performance series cameras. The Nest and Ring cameras go to infrared, and they're almost imperceptible. And this is our competitor's camera. Here it is in daylight with the same shot. And you can see what happened. These charts are designed to basically test the capability of a camera to resolve color, resolve complex images and things of that nature. So if you take even say our 4 megapixel camera and you come over here to anything in the consumer world, it's just night and day different. Even our 2 megapixel camera for $69 kind of kills it. And then these are our competitors, and you can see the 8 megapixel here versus that. Or if I take you to the next page, you can see them up close. So we didn't get everything perfect up front. We had a lot of feedback. In the very beginning, we didn't support Chrome and Edge. Our event playback was chatty. Motion was chatty. In the middle of the night, if a bug flew by, that was motion. So we worked feverishly from about the June window through the end of September, and then again in November. We had a release in January. So we're working feverishly to begin to address every one of the issues that people have brought to our attention. So in September, you know, we enhanced encryption, made it more secure, improved push notification. Actually, we overhauled the NVR setup process completely. We added the virtual host, password enhancements, lots and lots and lots of features. There were about 130 upgrades to the cameras and NVRs combined in September. We did another release in November, and then subsequently a small release in January for performance and reliability, web console UI improvements, trying to make it the web console even easier to use, and a few bug fixes and problems solved. So let's go into what's new. In the store now is the 8 megapixel varifocal camera. It's a big brother of the 4 megapixel. Same form factors, same infrared ranges, same. The difference is these are full 4K cameras. One of the things I will remind everybody is the dome and the turret camera have roughly 30 meter infrared ranges. This bullet camera has a 60 meter range. So if you're trying to look downfield, and now you've got the resolution to really capture what's going on downfield, and you've got a 13 millimeter lens that you can go all the way to 13 millimeters, you're going to need that. You may need that infrared range, and it does work. I will caution that setup is important when you're using cameras and you're trying to go downrange quite a ways. Any obstacle in the near field is going to reflect the light back on that camera, and it's going to really mess up your image. So be careful with how you set up cameras when you're trying to shoot long range, that you don't have near field obstacles that are going to create flashback. But it's quite a camera, and the image quality is crazy. By popular demand, we get asked for this every week. We are releasing a 4 megapixel Wi-Fi dome and bullet. These come with SD cards pre-installed. They use 2.4 gigahertz. There are limited smart features in them, although we are qualifying them as a V100 series product. The form factor is quite small. We have tested the range of these things. They will reach about 300 feet open field. We've done, wall testing. How many walls will we pass through? These are very responsible cameras, and you can put these on the eaves of homes and with a decent Wi-Fi network, and they'll perform. We did some things like if you do a factory reset on these, it does not reset the we intentionally does not reset the networking, because, well, you'll lose access to the camera to reconfigure it. So we tried to think through a lot of the details of what it means to put in Wi-Fi. It does come with the power supply in the box. And so these are launching probably in mid-February-ish, mid to late February. You'll see these in the store. They're en route right now. For many of you who know a bit about varifocal cameras, this will be a little bit boring, but we're doing a little bit of a slide. I'm not sure the images do it the justice that we want, but varifocal lenses are important for a couple of reasons. One is essentially what a sensor does is you've got a limited number of pixels that you can apply to the field of view. Point blank, what a varifocal lens does is allow you to adjust the field of view on the area of interest. So if you have an area of interest, if you've got a 2.8 millimeter lens and you're putting onto the side of a house, a good chance is you're going to be picking up the side of the house you mounted on, the side of the house next door, and a variety of areas that you really just don't care about. Varifocal lenses let you focus on the area of interest. So if you've got a driveway that's 60 feet long and you really want to see somebody coming and going from the driveway, a 2.8 millimeter lens at 60 feet is going to give you over 100 foot, roughly 100 feet of reach on the field of view, on the horizontal field of view. If you're really trying to get, and now you've wasted all those pixels on the right and left side of the driveway entrance. If you're really trying to focus on that driveway entrance and you're mounting it at the eave of a house, move to a varifocal lens, narrow that varifocal lens to the entry. Now there's a very high probability you'll be able to read that license plate. Whereas if you were on a 2.8 millimeter lens and hitting 100 feet of entry, you probably won't get it even with an 8 megapixel camera. So that's kind of number one. Why do we motorize? If anybody has ever climbed a ladder and adjusted a manual camera, you'll know why we motorized all our cameras. It is a total pain in the backside. So with these cameras, you can mount them, point them, go down to your laptop, and you can adjust the field of view from the laptop and fine tune it right with the customer standing there, and stop going up and down the ladder to fine tune it and refocus it and that sort of thing. A varifocal lens, a motorized varifocal lens, is not a little brother to a PTZ. It is intended to be a set and forget feature. So I don't want people to be confused by the fact that we're going to allow the end user to, resume their cameras and things like that. If you come back to us and say, hey, it's high demand and we really want to let them do this, then we'll go ahead and release that feature to the end user. But typically varifocal cameras are set and forget. And I find a lot of time in working with dealers that we just kind of throw fixed lens cameras up there, and fully 50% of the field of view is of no value. Varifocal lenses let you focus on the area of value. And our varifocal cameras are they start around $150, are very cost effective, and the image quality is awesome. So consider the varifocal cameras. They really do let you focus on the field of view of interest. Let's talk about color at night. I've got 21 minutes. So this is a actual scene with two cars in a parking lot with color at night, and it's close to pitch black. We've got all the parking lot lights turned off, and it's a shot of a color at night camera with the LED turned off. There's no lighting being applied. Now, a color at night camera uses a white LED as opposed to an infrared LED, and we'll show you the differences in a minute. So the left is a standard IR camera with the IR turned off, So it's still in color mode versus what you would see with a color at night camera. There's two things. The sensors are far more sensitive in these cameras, and the f-stop is the iris is far wider. So it's a f1.0 f-stop versus most cameras like ours are f1.6. As that number gets smaller, f1.6 to f1.0, more light is allowed in, which allows the color to be rendered. So this is an example of it with the LED off. And there you go with the standard camera LED on, which is where it would end up in all applications. You would not leave the infrared turned off and leave the customer with that image. So this is the image difference that you get between the two cameras with an infrared camera and a color at night camera. The other issues that you run into with infrared on versus no light on is flashback. So for you folks that are up north, when it snows, you know what a camera looks like with the infrared on. You get all kinds of flashback from the snow. The snow looks like golf balls coming down because it's moving pretty fast, and there's a blur event happening. Rain does the same thing. So rain and snow and things like that flash back on the camera, and they basically block the image view. If you do not have a light on, there is no flashback. So those are a couple of the values of a infrared camera. So here's another example of what happens to flashback. So this is a IR camera with no infrared on. This is a color camera with no white light on. And here's that same IR camera with the infrared on. Now, one of the things to know about license plates and car lighting in general is it's designed to reflect. So there is no possible way when you have a light on facing a car that you're going to pick up the license plate number of that car. It's just not going to happen. Whereas with the color at night camera, you can do it. Now you can't see it until you kind of pinch and zoom, but you can see the license plate of that camera. There's no possible way you'll see that with light on, because the license plate has the paint on it that does 3D reflection, and so they glow like light bulbs. That's that same license plate with an infrared on. So if you get down to below the sensitivity of the sensor, that is, and the direct image, that's a direct compare. This is the LED on for a color at night camera. This is the LED on for a black and white camera. I'm sorry, for a standard camera. And you can see the difference. The images do get, as you turn the light on, if I were to go back a couple, you would see this image is crisper. And it is because the light is on and the sensor is able to pick up more detail with the light on. So that's a direct compare on light on to light on. You would never know that's a red car on the right. This also to know the human eye, when you where you were showing you cars now, but if I had people out there, you would be able to see and recognize a human being better in color, because you'll see more of the variations in skin tone and things of that nature. So you would, as your human eye, would be able to detect or reference a human being as somebody you know far easier under color than you would under a black and white image. Here's another example. So you can see the detail you can see inside of the color at night off, even color at night on versus infrared is night and day. That's a bad analogy, but anyway, it's far better. The analytics do work better under the conditions here, as analytics are not too much, a little bit like your human eye. If it looks like this stuff starts to get blurred together, and that gets really hard for analytics to deal with. There is in the application, when you're controlling the cameras directly, you can control the LED. It's bright, turn it on, turn it off. When it's on, it's in auto mode, or you can set the brightness. I've tested this down to about 30% LED, and for most applications, a 30% LED is going to cover the property that you're looking at, as long as you're not trying to go out too far, quite well. And it's a warm LED. It's not a 6,000 Kelvin LED, so it's pleasant. Provides some glow to the area, but it's not going to knock your neighbors off their feet. So this is what I think a lot of people who have using the product have been clamoring for. There's some things that we get some very direct feedback. Thank you very much. Many of you guys are not very bashful. We take it all seriously, and we have laid out a complete new user interface for the Claire application. So number one, this is the homepage. It looks a little like the old homepage with one major exception. Those are all live view. That was the number one requested change to the mobile application, is when I launch the app, I want to see things in live view. So every single camera that's in this mobile application will come up live view, and you have a couple different views that you can use to get to see the cameras. So if you've got, a couple, 3 cameras, you might be comfortable with this. If you got 8 cameras around your house, or 6 or 8 cameras, you might want to see this, and every one of those will be in live view the moment the app launches. So that's kind of change number one. Information about the camera, or in some cases the NVR, is going to be far more subtle than the toast that we put up there now, which basically barks at you. You can tap that little circle down there. It'll take you to the information or the setup page, and then you can update the new firmware. The next page, when you tap on an NVR, is the last page. So instead of going into the next page, next page that's where you have to view the live view. Then you have to go down to the bottom, and you got to go over to the event page. Lots of changes to this. We consolidated everything to one page, everything you need to know about that camera. This image is live. These are snapshots from all the old images. You can slide up through those old images. You can manage those old images. You can download any one of those and still keep that live view in front of you. So you can look at the event history. We're going to go into live control in a moment, but it really simplifies it. You basically have your live view for all cameras on your first page. You tap it, you're still in live view. Now we're going to talk about, hey, let's look at all the events that happened on this page. Let's look at, let's manage the events on this page. Let me filter the events that I'm looking, maybe fast forward or reverse, that kind of thing. If you tap on, up here in the upper right corner, you see the gear. You can tap and you can get to the basic controls. You can set privacy zones. You can get to any of the settings. We are putting in a mute. This was a second most requested feature. You can mute the notifications for a camera for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 2 hours. So if you're going into a meeting, or you're going to have an event where people are going to be coming in the front door, you can mute the notifications, and they will just stop for the period of time that you select. If you pick a live view, you can take a snapshot. You can talk to the camera, listen to the camera. PTZ is going to be available in the application. So there's your pan and tilt, and there's your zoom. All of this right from the one interface. So this is internally our code name 3.1. I have no idea what version number we'll call it when it releases, but this is our internal project that we're working on. We expect to be in beta on this application in Q1. So there's only 60 days left in Q1, so we'll see how we do. But that's the current calendar, and it's being watched every day. So we're super excited about this. Almost every one of these features came from comments back from dealers on things that they needed to see in the app in order to be really proud of handing it to an end user. There's a roadmap after this. This is the pathway on the way to supporting the next generation video doorbell, which I will not talk about today because I'm seeing the questions on the page here. We're not prepared to discuss something like that right now, but it is underway. It is aggressively being worked on, and it will be part of this application environment. Many of these features you're seeing here are the roadway to that video doorbell. Lastly, but not least, certainly not least, we have finished development of embedded oversee in the NVR. We are going through certification with Snap One right now. We expect, I don't know the queue right now, but shortly we'll be releasing, shortly could be weeks, but you will see an update for the NVRs where you can essentially, you can load it to Oversee Cloud and not have a hub nearby. So when you do that, you can remotely log into the NVR, you can view online, offline status, you can remotely reboot, you can log in and log into the NVR, troubleshoot settings, you can update the NVR firmware. All the things you can do with a Luma NVR through Oversee, you will be able to do with the Clare NVR. So change record settings, change the sensitivity settings, anything you want to do, you can log into that NVR. I want to be very clear about one thing. The next step for us is to put Oversee into the cameras. So you cannot, in the Luma NVR, you can't use a virtual host to tunnel into the camera. You cannot do that on the Clare NVR. When you have a Luma, a camera that's on the backside of an NVR show up in your device list in Oversee, it's actually connecting directly through Oversee, and the NVR is more or less operating as a router. We will begin working on Oversee in the camera line in about the second week of February. We'll begin working on that, and we expect that would be a Q2 release for Oversee in the cameras. This is the product line 8 minutes ago. This is the product line in summary. So now you've got the Value series, you've got our new Wi-Fi cameras. Again, we kept that cost effective in our sites. In our Color at Night Performance series, we've got our these are both new. In our Starlight series, we've added the 8 megapixel to this lineup of varifocals, and we've added the Color at Night 8 megapixel in the V300 series. So V300, V300, all brand new. 8 megapixel brand new here. Wi-Fi cameras brand new here. As I said, we're up to almost 60 SKUs in the product line, so it's quite robust. We are also, if they're not in the store, they'll be in the store shortly. Yes, they'll be in the store shortly. Black mounts. Black mounts are being added. That was a request for all these black cameras that are quite popular. There'll be a mount for the cameras in black. And we are bringing in about 2 to 3 weeks, there'll be a J box for the dome camera to allow you to install that in a little more easily. NVRs, for those of you that know them, this is redundant, but 4-channel has a single terabyte drive, 2 terabyte, and 4 terabyte drive in the 8-channel. We basically have the 4-channel NVR, that when we say that, that's the number of PoE ports on the NVR. 8 and 16. We actually support up to 9 cameras, 16 cameras, and 25 cameras on those. Obviously the cameras that are not on the PoE ports are on the general network. In our help center, there is I encourage you, if you haven't used our product lines before, we've written some articles in our help center that are written along the line of a recipe. Do this, do this, do this. Basically the steps to success, rather than this button does this and this button does that. So we explain it in a way that if you simply follow that process, you will be successful. In one of those help center articles is a bandwidth chart that tells you how much bandwidth each one of these can handle and what that means for an 8 megapixel camera. So, the first question is, can you handle 9 8 megapixel cameras on the 4-channel NVR? So you go to that chart and you can see what you can and cannot do. The short answer is a 16-channel NVR, when configured properly, can support 25 8 megapixel cameras. But these are in the store today and they're in existence. These are just specs. We can probably, I made this within 6 minutes. These are the existing V100 series cameras, the 200 series cameras that we've had. Here's your 8 megapixel versions of the 2 megapixel camera of the fixed lens cameras. Your varifocals are now available in 4 and 8 megapixel. And then you've got your Color at Night series fixed lens and 4 and 8 megapixel, and your Color at Night varifocals in 8 megapixels. So again, quite a broad line. You can start doing some pretty high-end jobs with these 8 megapixel color at night varifocal cameras. The NVRs, SD cards. brief note on the form factor and the use case for the mini domes. The mini domes on our lineup are the website. We're going to work on it. The website really doesn't do them justice. These things are about 3 inches in diameter. They're very small. So I find when I talk to dealers, certainly indoor cameras, these are very, they're attractive, they're petite, and even in outdoor settings, they're very attractive and small. So when you get into areas where you're tight or there's high visibility to the aesthetics of the camera, we really recommend you look at these domes carefully. And then now the new J-Box offering, you don't need to use a J-Box indoors, but the J-Box offering is going to make the camera a little easier to install outdoors and eaves and things of that nature. Let's see, recap. It's 4 minutes. Again, we unified the Claire Home and ClareVision mobile experience. Really work hard to make sure we're unified with the Control4 folks, interoperable with lots of brands. We've had tech support calls. I swear to you, I had a tech support call last week that had an Axis camera, a Dahua camera, a Luma camera, and a ClareVision camera on one NVR. And so as long as they're on VIF compliant, it'll work. So people are getting very creative with our products, I can tell you that. Scalable, we grow from small jobs to large jobs of up to 25 cameras on them. Our application really is location agnostic, so the cameras or NVRs can be anywhere. I think you'll find them very competitively priced. The performance against DIY, you're competing against a DIY play. Pull out a chart. I will make sure those pictures are up on the help center. Pull that out and show somebody what they're going to be looking at. Performance series have Starvis image sensor, true eye dynamic range, onboard storage, advanced motion detection analytics, and they're all certified. And then we're adding to the line. Like I said, this line started at around 35-ish, 40-ish SKUs. We're pushing 60 SKUs now. We're looking at some new launches in the second quarter that start moving into edge case applications like ceiling mount 360 cameras and things of that nature. Obviously, the new video doorbell is coming up, which is probably the center of attention for that time period. So it'll keep going, and we will keep focusing on the application. We have a very specific roadmap for the application through 2022, and we're doing it based on your feedback. So, ta-da! Within 1 minute, 2 minutes. I'll hand it back over to the MC.
The MC, the host. Guys, that was incredible. Thank you so much. And you're so diligent on the time, and I really appreciate that. But I'm curious, and we've got a couple questions left over. Jerry, I don't know if you're in the midst of answering Dean's and Jerry's question, but what an awesome lineup. I only hope that, with the partnership, if you will, with Snap One, that we continue to add dealers and it continues to go your way. Jerry, throughout the 20 questions that you just answered, was it more discovery questions, or was it more kind of fix it as we go? What was your take on the questions?
Yeah, it was a mix. Some of them were about users and things like that, encryption. It shows the audience is intelligent and attentive. So it's great to see the questions flow like they did.
Yeah, and Brett, it's funny, you just mentioned, you're talking about a hybrid system that's literally all over the map, right? I'm sure that's kind of everybody kind of embracing what jobs they're walking into and how to, streamline it, if you will. This is certainly such a great product. Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned when you said, hey, show the customers these images, I want to help with that too, because it is really inspiring. You know what I mean? It crystal clear. What a great lineup. So I want to make sure that there's links. What was the link question we just had here? Was it Jerry?
Yeah, they want to know the link to the Help Center article.
Okay.
It's a little bit hard for me right now to do that, but if you go to our Help Center and there's a ClearVision Essentials, open that up and literally just go from the first article down. The first article is firmware. Skip that one and go down. there's 3 or 4 articles, which, and I think there's one in there called there is one in there called the NVR, getting started with the NVR. The
Okay.
chart with regard to the bandwidth and the NVR and the capacities right in there.
Nice.
Height compatible means if the cameras, we will work with height cameras. That's another question.
Okay.
And what you can do with
Current project working with 22 to 24 cameras.
Yeah, if you got a project, simply call into our help center. I don't, you can ask for me, you can ask for Jerry Bolda, jerry.bolda@clarecontrols.com. Answer any questions you want in specking.
And my staff, Chaudhry, let me know where you're coming from. If you're coming from an AllNet store or Volutone or wherever you're at, we can get you the help. We've got a full staff at all the locations that's ready, that have been trained by Brett and Jerry as well. So you're in Philly, okay. Probably an AllNet store. Just get with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap all this stuff up and get you guys emails with the links, with kind of a follow-up here. And guys, we're back in what, 2 hours? Jerry, Brett, you ready to go? Jerry, don't leave that hotel room, man. I got you back in 2 hours.
Unfortunately, I probably will have to leave the hotel room. So
Okay.
Brett may be on his own, but he's as you can see, he's pretty well versed. So
so me and Brett have to field 20 more questions. Okay, looking forward to that.
Hopefully 40 more questions.
I'll bring another person to the
There you go. See, there's resourceful. So let's do another session in 2 hours. Bring the questions. Let's get through this. Almost 100 partners here today. Awesome job, you guys. Let's continue the discussion. Like I said, in your inbox on Friday, back in 2 hours. Jerry, Brett, go get some work done. I'll see you back in 2. Okay, guys?
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, guys.
From all of us at Snap One,
Good
guys,
luck.
be safe out there. Thank you. This is a great camera line. Let's continue the discussion. We'll catch you in a couple minutes, man. Take care. See you later.